The Brand Ed Podcast with Robbie Fowler, episode 33, How to Use Your People to Position Your Coaching, Consulting, Speaker, or Thought Leader Business. Welcome to the Brand Ed Podcast, the show that helps you position, pitch, and profit from your brand. I believe the chaos and confusion around what branding is, why it matters for your business, and how to translate your brand into profit leads to overspending on marketing, underperforming businesses, and overwhelmed leaders. Stay tuned to discover how to position your brand in the market, pitch your business with purpose, and profit from a life-giving brand that blesses you and your customers. Welcome to this episode of the Brand Ed Podcast. Let's catch up real quick because we're going to be continuing the conversation from the previous episode. So in episode 32, we looked at the 3 Ps you need to position your coaching, consulting, speaker, or thought leader business. So we looked real quick just to recap and remind us of where we are. We started with, okay, well, what are those 3 Ps? What 3 Ps do you need in order to position your business? And we said you need to know the people you serve. That's P number 1, the people you serve. Number 2, the product you offer. And number 3, the process you use, right? You have to have clarity around those 3 to begin to position your business. The people you serve, the product you offer, the process you use. Then we also looked at, okay, well, why do you need to know those 3? How are those helpful when it comes time for you to position your coaching, consulting, speaker, or thought leader business? And obviously this would apply beyond that. If you're, a podcaster, or if you're a content creator, a course creator, this would also apply. So why do you need those 3 Ps? You need clarity around those 3 because those 3 are at least the beginning initial steps of how you position your business. Because we all know there's lots of other consultants, coaches, thought leaders, content creators, speakers, right? So there's lots of that, this is a big market. So how do you position yourself so that you're unique and different and you can connect with the right people? Well, you've got to know and you've got to have clarity around those 3. That's where you can start positioning yourself. And then the last thing we looked at is, okay, well, when do you need to gain clarity around those 3 Ps? Like, is that just when you start your business? Well, for sure, when you start, you're going to need the answer to that. But it's also anytime you're pivoting an existing business. So if you kind of started out doing one thing and you're pivoting over into doing another thing, even within the same business, you'll often need clarity around those 3 Ps. Because if you used to serve, a larger group or a bigger group of people, and now you're narrowing down even further, let's say, hey, I used to provide copywriting services and I would teach, some copywriting courses to folks wanting to be copywriters. Now I want to pivot and I just want to focus my business more on teaching other copywriters. Okay. So you would need clarity around those 3 Ps again, if you're pivoting an existing business like that example. Or number 3, when you're launching a new revenue stream, right? Particularly around a larger new product or service. So this applies even if you are already up and running. But those are the 3 times you're going to need clarity around those 3 Ps. Okay. Now let's look at today. How do you use your people to position your business? So last episode, we just ran through these real quick, but here's what I often find. Folks are, particularly again, for starters, they want to start, but even again, this applies to existing and you're wanting to pivot or maybe niche down further, or you want to launch a new revenue stream. Oftentimes you'll find some folks out there just know intuitively who they want to go help. Okay. So step 1 is you use the people you want to serve as a way to position your coaching, consulting, or speaker or thought leader business. And this works well for those that have far more clarity on who they want to serve than maybe those other two P's, the product or the process, right? So, most of you, if you're this person, you know this about yourself, right? You're passionate about serving some group of people. You know who you want in your audience. Like, that is abundantly clear. Okay. Then this is where you start. So if you're one of those folks that goes, man, I know who I want to serve. Then this is where you start. This is what it looks like when that one is most clear to you of those three P's. So when you know who you want to help or serve, but you're not quite as clear on your product or offering, then this is where you start. And what I mean is, if you would feel a little bit caught off guard or flustered, or, the butterflies would start churning in your stomach, if I just approached you and I said, just kind of out of the blue, and I've got a business, right? And I said, hey, I've got $1,000. Sell me on something real quick, right? If you would be like caught off guard, put on your heels by that question, if someone just looked you dead in the eye and was like, hey, I'm ready to spend money with you right now, sell me something. If you're like, oh, I don't know exactly what I would say. I feel like I'd probably fumble around. Okay, then you might be the kind of person that knows who you want to help, but you're not quite as clear on that product or offering yet. And that's okay. But this is where you start to position your business. You start with, okay, what people do I want to go help or serve? Okay. This is also true if you're not quite sure of the exact process you would use to help those folks, or maybe how you're going to go about it. How is that unique? So you want to be a speaker, but and you want to go speak to this group of people. Maybe that's clear to you. Okay, well, there are other folks that speak to this group of people. How is what you do or what you're going to present or your unique thoughts or approach, how is that different? How is that difference going to be helpful to that audience, right? If you would have a hard time coming up with, if I said to you, okay, we're talking about kind of what you want to do in your coaching or consulting or speaker business, and I'm leaning in, right? You've got me curious. But if you would have a hard time if I said, okay, well, I'm interested, but I'm still a little unsure exactly if I did this with you, if I hired you, how would this actually work? Convince me, I say with a smile on my face, not rude, but like, convince me. And if you would go, oh man, I don't know, like, how would this exactly work? I just know I really love those folks and I really know I can help them. Then that's okay. This is where you start. Okay. So step one is you use the people you want to serve as a way to position your coaching, consulting, or speaker or thought leader business when the who question is clear. I know who I want to serve. The what question, product I want to offer. The how question, process I want to use, maybe is not as clear. Okay, great. Then at least start right now. You've narrowed yourself down from I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. Now at least you can say I'm a coach or consultant for this people, serving these people who wants to help this audience, this group of people. And you can see right there, you've already taken a step towards positioning yourself, and that you should feel great about that. Okay, so that's step one. You're going to actually use the people you want to serve to begin to position your business, particularly when that one is more clear for you than the others. Okay, step number two, if that's you, right? If you're like, okay, that's definitely me. I feel really passionate about this group of people. The other stuff is not quite as clear to me. I know I can help them, but articulating that, clarity around that, I'm still not quite as clear. Okay, so what do you do next? Step two, then you work out your product and your process from there, from the people perspective. Okay, I know I want to go help these people. Okay, so you start with who you want to help. That's some of you out there. You know that clear, right? And then you start to discover, okay, well, what exactly do they need help with? What do they need help with? This might be you literally just brainstorming. It may be you taking a walk with a phone where you can, dictate into your phone some thoughts or ideas that come to mind on what does this particular group of people that I'm passionate about, that I know I want to go help, okay, what do they need help with? Okay, then you could take that list, you could take a piece of paper, put it in 2 columns on the left-hand side, just based on, if you're passionate about them, there's a very good chance you know some things about them. Not everything. There's more that you could learn, right? Not everything, but there's some things that you know about them. And so you would say, okay, on the left-hand side, what do they need help with? And then on the right-hand side, what are some things I'm good at that I think I could help them with? So you'd be looking at the left-hand column. Here's some things I know they're struggling with. Oh, here's some things I'm good at that I think I could match. It's almost like the good old, matching test or quiz we used to get in school, where you match the correct answer on the right-hand side with the problem on the left-hand side. Okay, then you could just scratch out some specific ways about how you might go about helping them. Okay, even if it's not real clear, well, okay, if I want to serve this group of people, here's a couple problems, here's a few things I'm good at. Okay, how would I help them with that particular problem, given that I'm good at fill in the blank, technology, motivation, execution, integration, whatever those pieces might be. At least jot down some ideas. Okay, if that person called you right now and said, you're hired, how would you help them? How would you help them right now? So get past the barrier of, well, I don't even know, and I'm not sure. Okay, just assume somebody literally just said yes. Okay, and they're like, yes, I'm going to do it. Here's my credit card number. Run that payment through. Now, let's get started. How are we going to go about doing this? Okay, at least jot some ideas. Then as you get going, right, you'll obviously refine that process as you gain more experiences. Okay, let me give you just a couple of examples of what this would look like. And again, this is for a coach, consultant, speaker, a thought leader who knows primarily who they want to help. The people question is clear in your mind. The product or the process is not as clear. Don't feel like you're unique there if that's you. That's very, very common. So it's nothing to be ashamed of or feel guilty about. There's just oftentimes there's a group of you that this is where you are. Like, I know who I want to serve. Okay, some examples would be if you say, I'm a coach or a consultant or a speaker or a thought leader, and I know I love and I'm passionate about and I want to help female entrepreneurs. Great. Now you've at least begun to position yourself. So if that one's clear to you, then you would start to work out, okay, what would female entrepreneurs need some help with? Again, there's a chance you know something about them. You're probably not passionate about a group of strangers. So you could at least jot some ideas down and you could think through some ways that you could help them, and then jot down, at least scratch out, this is how I would go help them with that, right? This is at least how I think I would go help them if they hired me today. Or you might say, I know that I want to help retired executives. I want to help them capitalize on this part of their life with this newfound freedom. And obviously, many of them may have the means to do some significant things. I don't want them falling into some traps of just coasting. Okay, so you know you're passionate. How in the world, what would you offer retired executives that would actually help them? Okay, and then how would you go about doing that? So that's how this would look like. You would start with who, and then you would start to brainstorm. Okay, what product or offering would I offer to them? What would I help them with? And then what would my process look like? How would I help them that way? Or maybe it's lifestyle brands. I know I want to help others start a lifestyle brand, or I know I want to work with working mom executives. I want to help them with that whole balance of life and family. And I know I want to help nonprofit podcasters. I want to help nonprofits who have this great mission get their voice heard. And I think the best way to do that is podcasts. I love podcasts. So I know I want to do that. That's an example. If that's you can fill that blank in pretty clearly. First, start there. Now you've begun to position yourself. And then you can kind of sketch out with pencil, what product would I offer them? And that's where you're answering the question, well, what would I help them with? And what am I good at? And number two, how would I help them? That's the process that you would use. You don't have to have all the answers, but at least write some of that down. Okay, and here's a final reminder for you. Remember the great advice that you're likely helping you and who you were like 3 years ago or 5 years ago. You may have heard that before. It's really helpful advice. So you're likely, not always, but oftentimes the who question is who you were 3 years ago, 5 years ago. So if you want to help female entrepreneurs, it may be because that's what you've been wrestling through, or that's what you have done for the last 3 years or 10 years or whatever. So you know the pain points. That's who you have hung around and you want to help or serve. It's not always the case. You might want to help a group that you're passionate about, but it wasn't necessarily you 3 years ago. And that's fine too. But that's always a great place to start. So this is a short episode on purpose because you've got work to do. I want you to ask yourself, is of the 3 Ps, the people I want to serve, the product I want to offer, the process I want to use, are you one of those that says the people I want to serve is the clearest to me? Okay, great. If that's you, write down who that is, as specifically as you can, write down who that is. Then start to brainstorm, okay, what problems do they have and what am I good at? And then at least jot down some ideas on how you would help them. And if you put that even on a little website, within an email document, if you could have that conversation in an email or over the phone, now you can at least begin to position yourself and feel more confident that I help this group of people. Here's what I do and here's how I do it. Even if it's not all written in stone yet, that's fine. You're at least well on your way to positioning yourself as a coach, consultant, speaker, or thought leader so that you can begin to stand out from the crowd and attract and connect with the very specific people you want to help. So if you're a who person first, you're passionate about who, you know who, hopefully this will help you, this little exercise, begin to position yourself so that you can start earning some revenue, start helping the people that you want to help. I know this was a short episode. That was on purpose because I want you doing more than just walking around listening. So holler back if this was helpful or if you have questions on what this looks like. I would love to help. I'll put it in the show notes. You can submit a question and I'll try to answer it on the podcast. So if you have a question around this, make sure you go to the show notes, click that link. You can submit your question on kind of how to position your brand or your business as a coach, consultant, speaker, or other, right? Thought leader, course creator, podcaster. This applies to beyond just that group of folks. I'd love for you to drop me a question because I'd love to help. The second thing, I mentioned it last time, don't forget, I've got a great resource for you, 4 ways to make a great first impression with your website. Go grab that free resource. I'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. Thanks for joining me on this quick but hopefully helpful episode. Until next time, go and build a life-giving brand.